Hi, for those that don't know, my name is Aubrey Blakeledge. I am the host of whatever this is. Welcome to Fizzy Brain. This is a stream, podcast, vlog, vanity project thing where I basically talk to you lovely people about creativity from the viewpoint of a weird, fizzy-brained, bard, wizard, creature thing. Telling you lot who keep me on the road what I do on the road. So it's sort of a combination of strange stories, events, and also explaining sort of how my creative thing works. Not in a kind of boring way, but in an actual practical, this is literally what happens when I try to engage my brain. So what I'm going to do is, unlike the last stream, which annoyingly was meant to be the first, which I didn't press record on, so if you're listening to this as a podcast version, this is the first one, but it's actually the second one, in the same way that there is a lost episode of Doctor Who. That has been kept underground due to a family member being really annoyed. But instead of there being a family member, it's because these sausage fingers didn't press the record and set to video on demand. So I've learnt from that mistake and learnt some whole new mistakes, like turning the microphone on. But c'est la vie, we shall persevere and move on and such like that. So what I've done is a difference from the first stream. And this one, that was like a pilot. This is more like sort of knowing what I'm doing. I'm going to split the show into effectively two parts. Me talking about what I'm meant to be working on, and then what I'm actually working on. Two very different things. And anyone who's listening on the stream who has any kind of neurospiciness will completely understand exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Because there's things you are really meant to do, but then your brain just fixates on all kinds of lovely bits and pieces. So before we start, because this is something I've been doing whilst I've been on trains, which is basically, I call it the British Rail Book Club, which is what books I'm reading while on tour. And currently, so I thought I might as well involve you guys in this. So I was recommended by a friend at work, Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. Yes, I know it's young adult, but this is what I feel like reading. And also I've been listening to a lot of podcasts by Stephen Fry, not podcasts, sorry, audiobooks of Stephen Fry's History of Greek Mythology. So due to the fact that I have, I developed, as it sort of scratched my brain ever so slightly, the idea of Greek mythology, I decided on the recommendation of a friend to give Percy Jackson a try, by the marvellous Rick Riordan, I believe. This is great, isn't it? It's like, this is something that everyone's... This is like me saying J.K. Rowling, because this is a newfound book called Harry Potter. I've never heard of this before. And yes, I'm fully aware that I'm very late to the party with this. I've discovered another book series called Twiddlit as well. But anyway, so yeah, I do admit I did try at first the audiobook because I really like audiobooks and podcasts. I do like reading, and I've got like a stupidly large pile of books on the go at any one time because brain. So I thought I'd give it a try on the audiobook. Problem is, it really annoyed me, the audiobook, because it's a story about a 12-year-old from the viewpoint of the 12-year-old, and they've got like someone that's clearly 35, possibly 48 or something, reading with that weird inflection of sarcasm indicates intelligence that some programs seem to have as a main way of explaining intelligence, or I understand what's going on because I'm sarcastic. You know, that sort of, maybe if you'd, you know, that was that brilliant Dark Place quote, maybe if all your friends had died, you'd be sarcastic. Maybe if you were a genius as well, a child prodigy that was misunderstood by all of your friends and your mum had just died, spoilers, you would be sarcastic too. But it was so irritating that I couldn't put up with it. So I tried again. I found it in a marvellous bookshop called, this is great, called, I don't know if you can read that, Mick's Famous Bookstall. I found this in Barnsley before a show ages ago. And this guy has a bookshop in the middle of this flea market in Barnsley that you buy, the books are all $2.99, and if you take it back you get half the money back, which I think is smashing. It's like a sort of a semi-private library that funds itself, which I quite like. It's not like a sort of, if it was done by Waterstones I find it quite cynical, because there's this bloke literally called Mick, and Mick does work there. It has this wonderful charm to it, and also half of this stall, and there's hundreds and hundreds of books. They've got everything from local history, they've got history, all kinds of fiction, young adult, full-on fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever you like, and that's half the stall. And one half of the stall is clearly softcore porn fiction as well. So this marvellous bookshop where I got this, was just there with me with this children's book, effectively, just reaching over to the counter over a sea of very poorly drawn cover artwork of dozens of porn books, which was which is an image which will stick with me for a long time. But that does of course mean every time I go to Barnsley I'm going back to this goddamn store because it's brilliant. Anyway, so yeah, I got the book, started reading it, and really enjoyed it. Unlike the tone of the audiobook, which is sarcastic as fuck, the tone of the book seems to work quite well. And I do enjoy the fact that as a sort of a small victory against the encroachingness of the American bastardization of English, they've determinedly put it into proper English, as in just English, by saying that the character, again, spoilers, I was just a normal kid going to school, playing basketball, skateboarding, the usual, until I accidentally vaporised my maths teacher. Not math, fucking maths, because it's mathematics, because there's more than one of them. So yeah, but that's, anyway, so yeah, the book club at the moment. If you feel like joining in or telling me at the end of the stream, or putting it in the chat if you want, I'll try and read that as much as I can, what you're currently working on, and we'll go, I think I'll make it a regular opening fixture of what books I'm working on. So Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, very good, on the train, on the loo, or just on your lap while reading. So that's one thing, that I don't consider that procrastinating. I won't add that to the what am I actually doing, because I think having a book on the go is a healthy thing, and I'm not going to complain about that. So let's talk about what I'm meant to be working on. So I'm still in the middle of my Woodland Gothic tour, for those of you who don't know. I try to encapsulate the spirit of whatever the hell this is, and I see myself as a sort of like a woodland goth, so a wizard that listens to the Smiths, kind of thing. And so there are different kinds of goths. You're probably more familiar with the, it's not common goth, but it's sort of the more prolific breeding goth, this standard black, eyeshadow, very pale, black clothing, hanging around graveyards. Woodland goths are similar, but they wear brown and greens, wear eyeshadow, are very pale, and hang around woodland parks, basically. It's similar kind of vibe, but we all listen to the Smiths. But we don't like Morrissey. No one likes Morrissey. So I'm working on Woodland Gothic, which is the first sort of album concept thing that I've been playing around with, using local folklore, coming up with different stories and that. Mainly starting around the Hampshire area where I live, and coming up with ideas and playing with that and messing with some stories. And so I pick ideas as I go around on tour. And so and one thing, a couple of new tracks actually sort of fell out of the last show recently, because I tried to sort of do as much improvised stuff and create stuff for each audience, so there's something fun and different. And I came up with a song called Sometimes Always Never, and I realised I can't display this with you at the moment because I haven't got a waistcoat. If you imagine I'm wearing a waistcoat, because I'm highly casual at the moment, I've not got my waistcoat on, I do apologise everyone, but normally with a waistcoat, some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may not. But when wearing a waistcoat, it's the top button, middle button, and bottom button. So, sometimes you have 4, sometimes you have 5, but generally it's based around the idea of the rule of 3. So if you have more than one, well, let's do the rule of 3. So it's, the first one is you sometimes do it up, the middle one you always do it up, and the bottom one you never do it up. If you've got, say, more than 3, like 4, it's the top one, the bottom one, and roughly in the middle. So if you've got 4, the 2 middle ones are the always, top one, sometimes, bottom one, never. And so this was based on a story that I've told many times before, where basically, the quick version of it now, I'll probably tell you the longer one another time, where basically I accidentally got involved into an anti-fascist riot, I keep saying riot, anti-fascist protest without realising it, and then started yelling at a person who was gesticulating at a camera crew, who it turned out was the leader of the UK Independence Party. And the way that I made him feel uncomfortable, because quite frankly, all the usual stuff doesn't really work anymore. Calling them racist, calling them bigots, calling them Nazis, doesn't work. You need to subvert it. So I decided to insult his way of wearing a waistcoat, which he was wearing incorrectly. And that seemed to shake him to his core. And so, that's the way you mess with people that are basically evil. You take an idea and fuck with it. And so yeah, he was wearing tweed and trying to pretend to be the the beating heart of the country, the sort of we are the not the establishment, but the establishment of saying, you know, we're the real voice of Britain, by, you know, pretending that tweed is a symbol of legitimacy, of values and that sort of rubbish. And so he was clearly wearing it badly, looked like a bellend, and so I insulted it. Go forward to the show I was working on. I was playing with Tom B. Wilde in the Palladium Club in Bideford. Absolutely lovely gig. Had a smashing time. And I just had one of those moments where I just sort of thought, this is a good time. So I picked up a harmonica that I just happened to have in my bag, played a couple of notes, and then played this sort of like bluesy Delta song called Sometimes Always Never. And so that has gone into the bank of songs that I'm going to work on, bring back for you guys, and probably actually play on one of these streams in the future. Because it's not quite ready to sort of play. I can improvise a song with an audience because you can play some ideas off, but I think it's really weird improvising without with. I know you guys are all there, and you're all lovely, and I love you, but because you're not there, basically idolizing me like a god, I don't see the point, and it makes me tired. Not really. I hope you understand what I mean. It's just that it's something I'm going to say for when there's an audience. So what I'll do for you guys is I'll write it down. Play it, put it together, put a little create a structure for it, and then share it with you lovely people in the future. So yes, so I am doing some work with Woodland Gothic. It is still progressing. That's good. And I was saying about the gig with Tommy Wild. Another thing I'm meant to be working on was prepping shows with Tom, and so I was meant to be learning always look on the bright side of life and no more fucks to give. And I have this strange thing that I had the problem where I was trying to sort of learn these new songs. And I had them written down with the tabs, musical tablature, so all the chords are written out for those of you who don't know. And I was trying to get it right and practice. It wasn't fully in my head. I know that if I've got a few more weeks, I'll get it nailed down, but I still needed the pages. And I have this strange thing when I play gigs, that if I have the words or the chords in front of me, for some reason I go temporarily blind or trying to read them and mess up half the song. So actually, if the lyrics weren't there, I would have probably gotten it more right than if they were there. But if they weren't there, then I probably would have forgotten absolutely everything. It would have been one of those things if the lyrics weren't there at all, I would probably overthought it, forgotten everything. But when the lyrics are there, they basically overloaded my brain, and I managed to get the song wrong even though I was looking at what the words were. Again, fizzy brain, that sort of thing. So I've got another show coming up with Tom, with the band as well, and so I've got to play some more songs for that. So there's that I'm meant to be prepping on. I'm meant to be working with some comparing ideas because I've been invited for 4 years of Fire Jam on Saturday up in Bristol at the Exchange. I'm going to be introducing a load of bands, doing the compare, master of ceremonies kind of thing, so I need to be thinking of ideas for that. Which is one of those things that comes sort of like in the moment kind of thing, be that pretentious in the moment to get the ideas. Oh yes, grab them from the sky, little birds with inspiration that allow one to communicate to one's audience and then build their ideas. But I have a very strange brain, as you may have already gleaned, that what I have to do is effectively create an entire set of what I'm going to do, write a set list, think the ideas out, plan it, and then when I do the show, immediately throw it away, and then something else will happen. I will forget everything I've been asked to say. If I've meant to be saying happy birthday to people, I'll completely forget, because that's how my brain is. But if I don't write it all down and go through that process, what will happen is I will go on stage and go, and completely blank and not work. It's really odd. If anyone out there has a similar sort of thing where you have to prepare to throw it away, to improvise or deliver something, please tell me. I've yet to find someone else that does it. It's one of the few things that I genuinely get unnerved by how weird that is. But there must be someone else that performs in the same way. So yeah, so the comparing, I'm going to be wandering around talking about what I'm going to say. This is what we'll do around the house. I won't do it here. But what I'm going to be doing for the next few days is wander around the house with a list of the bands, thinking of jokes, thinking of puns, thinking of weird things, and then none of them will be used. But if I don't think about them, I won't be able to think of anything at all. and it will be rubbish. And the other thing is, well, actually, that reminds me of something, because I was doing some comparing at Curses Festival earlier this year. Really, they're the guys who, run by the guys called Fuel by Cider. They do a festival called Insider, which is in a Pontins, which is fucking hilarious. I will tell you about that in the future, because it's wonderfully naff and wonderfully brilliant. They do Outsider and Cursus, and they do these smashing little underground festivals, the bread and butter of artists and musicians like myself. They take a lot of chances with underground acts, and it's very friendly, very open. And in fact, a lot of people on the stream, as far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure, been to some Fuel by Cider events. And Curses was one of the first gigs that I got booked as a compere, and it was a lot of fun. And one of the ideas I thought, because I knew a lot of the bands, which is one of the reasons I was asked to be a compere, I thought I'd deliberately get all the band... Oh, yawn, beg your pardon. Drinky. Gin. Oh, yeah, that's how you get rid of yawns. You drink gin, apparently. That's what I'm suggesting. But, so one of the things I thought I'd do for my mates is deliberately get everyone's name wrong. And then as I sort of headed towards the day, and I'd actually created a list of all the different bad names I was going to use, I then sort of overthought it, and then thought, nah, I can't be bothered, and just chatted and brought everyone in. But one thing that will stick with me is I went up to a brilliant band called Millie Manders and the Shut Up. If you haven't seen them, go on Spotify. There's your first bit of homework for the evening. Go on Spotify, search for Millie Manders and the Shut Up. They are a multi-genre kind of band, but you know when you have a band like Diablo Swings Orchestra, who clearly they go from genre to genre to genre, and I love that. It's good fun. They're a band worth checking out as well. Delightfully mad. But then you have musicians that play each song in a slightly different genre, but it all fits in the same sort of umbrella. Millie Manders has that. There's a lot of punk in it, a lot of metal, some really tasty breakdowns, a bit of ska, a little bit of funk, and a lot of power to them, and punk band with a message kind of thing, like sort of. I wouldn't say full on right on. When I say right on, I mean sort of to the point of being annoying, even if you agree with them. So they're not right on. They're actually sort of right on, but not right on. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Anyway, but Millie Manders and the Shut Up are fantastic, and they are absolute sweethearts as well. They are really, really friendly, really lovely people. So if you ever get the chance, go and have a chat to them. They're lovely. But Millie, I thought when I was comparing, I would go and speak to each of the bands, and sort of part of the job is welcoming the bands, making them feel at home. Like, what do you guys want me to talk about? Is there anything you do want me to say? Anything you don't want me to say? Do you want me to do any plugging, or do you just want me to talk rubbish and crack on? What would you like? And most people don't care. They sort of, that thing when you've never really thought about what a compere does, but you obviously, no one's really sort of thought, actually, I want my compere to say this. They just want it to be good. They want people to go, oh, brilliant, come and see the show, and then you to crack on. So they don't want it too long, they don't want it too much, they don't want you to yell abuse at them, and just crack on, basically. And so I was asking people, is there anything you want me to say, anything you don't want me to say? Most people just went, yeah, fine, go for it. And it's fine by me. A little bit of sort of just checking what people want. And when I asked Millie Manders and the Shut Up, what would you like, guys? What would you? Is there anything you don't want me to say, or anything you don't want me to do? And Millie, in this really sweet sort of meek voice that I'd never expected to come from her, in a sincere, I thought it was beyond a joke kind of thing. She just said, "Can you please just not say anything mean about us?" And I felt so bad, because it was sort of like, not bad, but I felt like, no, I wanted to hug them all and just sort of, no, I'd never say anything mean. Why would I say anything mean? It's horrible. That's not my job. I'm not one of those edgelord wankers. No, I would just say, do you want me to not mention Argos or something in case you got fed up with them or something? I don't know. But it was just it will stick with me for a long time. Not only because it was my first comparing gig, but just the genuine sort of, please don't be mean. So I got the feeling that someone may have done that, to be mean to them in the past. If you're out there and you've been mean to Millie Manders and the Shut Up, I will find you, and do nothing, but I'm pretty sure some of my friends will beat the shit out of you. Anyway, so that's the comparing prep, doing all that, making stuff up to then promptly throw it out the window. Preparing for the Sweet Chunks gigs. We've got one gig at the 1865 with John Otway that I'm very excited about. He's playing 2 sets. We're playing for half an hour, which is fine, but they want us to turn up at 4:30 on a Thursday to then do doors at 7. I mean, well, it's just the odd load-in times to get all your kit in the right time. I understand you want it in advance, you can get the sound checks done, but that's going to leave a lot of time for just nothing and wasting time and such. So that is odd, but you know, we're not. C'est la vie. That is what the venue wants. That's what the sound guy wants, and that's what the sound guy gets. Because one of the most important lessons for you young budding musicians out there, you do not fuck around with sound guys. People that are mean or dick around with sound guys and their requests get punished. They don't know they're getting punished, but they do. There's 2 kinds of punishments that you get from sound people. One, the mix out the front will be fucking awful, and I have seen this happen. The monitors will sound great. You will think you had a great time. The audience will think you sound like shit. And they'll do it in a way that it doesn't sound like the sound guy's doing it. It will make you sound like crap because they have that technology. They are audio wizards. So give them the respect. And the other thing is they can fuck you with is called a DFA channel. Some of you may have heard of the DFA channel. This is where they weed out how stupid some musicians are. When you hear them doing sound checks and sort of hearing the right levels of your bits and pieces through the monitors at the front, you want to hear what you're playing, so you want a decent mix between you and the other bands. So you have people going a little bit more of the guitar, a little bit more of the vocals, that sort of thing. And you don't mess quite right. Just had a message from the chat saying you don't mess around with sound wizards. They will leave you bad feedback. That is awful. That is hauntingly bad pun work there. No, bad puzzle cheater. Anyway, so the DFA channel. When you're doing your monitor mix and you're getting it to sound nice, you just want the levels. That's all you really want. And what I do anyway is you trust your sound guy to just do their magic out the front. They know the room better than you. They know what works. They know when to put the reverb on. Some of them may have you may have your input of like, oh, I want to have this or a little bit of that. But most of the time, I think about 80 to 90% of the sound out the front, you trust the sound guy to do their job because they've done tons of events. They know what they're doing. But some people like putting effects on the monitors. This is weird. I've never understood it. There's some people that like it, but there's some people that act like dicks. And if you act like a dick, this is where the DFA channel comes in. Because you will ask, can I have more of this, please? And they go, yeah, and push their finger up the channel. And you go, yeah, that sounds great. What they've actually been using is the DFA channel. This is a channel that's connected to nothing. DFA stands for does fuck all. So when you're thinking, yeah, this sounds great, you're doing a great job, they're actually doing nothing. And you look like a complete bellend because everyone else knows clearly that the DFA channel is being used because that is the point of it. And this is mostly reserved for vocalists who are being arseholes. So you'll sometimes see it. Some sound wizards / sound engineers will have a channel labelled DFA. And it's a real thing. I've seen it on many desks. People just have it unmarked on the end. Generally, one of the far ends of the desk will be the DFA. But yeah, so do not fuck with sound wizards, sound engineers, or anyone, quite frankly, in a venue. Don't be a dick. Or another one that's a good warning. I found this from an ambulance technician. I can't believe you have to be told this, but don't fuck around or piss off ambulance techs because there is a way that they will fuck with you. Because if you are a dickhead to an ambulance driver or an ambulance paramedic or a tech, what they will do is for your own benefit, for your own safety, they will put you in a neck brace on a stretcher. This is standard if you have a neck injury. What they do is they want to hold you in your head in position, so they put a brace, so a gentle brace either side, and then they put tape across your forehead to hold you in place. If you're an arsehole, they put it over your eyebrows. This is the universal sign that you are a twat, because when you arrive in the hospital, you get put on the table. The first nurse or doctor or attending person sees the tape over the eyes and realise they're a bell end. Because what's going to happen is they're going to have to remove that tape at some point, and they will take off your eyebrows. Every fucking time. Now, I have never lost my eyebrows because I've never been stupid enough to be a dick to an ambulance tech. But I have friends who are ambulance techs. I've worked with people who work with paramedics and who are doctors. I have clarified this with different sources. It is genuinely a thing. Do not fuck with ambulance techs and sound wizards. Anyway, so that's what I've been thinking about while preparing for Sweet Chunks gigs. Another exciting thing I'm meant to be working on is the return of the Awkward Strawberry Club. Now, some of you may or may not know what the Awkward Strawberry Club was. It was an idea of me doing a musical comedy night in Southampton where I could bring in musical comedians, musicians that play sort of fun and silly songs, light-hearted stuff from the circuit that I play in festivals all around the UK, to come to Southampton, find an audience, build an audience in a little club, in a small venue that people could come back month after month, and sort of know that the music was going to be good. It sort of builds for it gets punters something really, really nice in their community. It supports a venue and gives bands a touring place on a Thursday on the South Coast that sort of they can tie in when they travel around. I did 3 of them last year, and they went really, really well. Really proud of the stuff we did. But then the art house venue in Southampton sadly closed down, so I didn't have a venue. I used the time to sort of close it down a little bit and sort of focus on other things, but I sort of had it in the back of my mind, this was working, so I wanted to do it again. So I spoke to the guys at the Hobbit in Southampton, and we are going to be bringing back the Awkward Strawberry Comedy Club on the 14th of February next year for a little one-off, and then we're going to do every first Thursday of the month from April. So the 3rd of April, 1st of May, 5th of June, 3rd of July, 7th of August. I've been sending out messages today to some musicians who are going to come along and have at least two acts each night, me comparing and doing some bits and pieces, and I'm hoping to open them up to open mics slots for the rest of the night as well, so sort of encouraging local acts as well as touring acts to sort of get to know audiences and move and stuff like that. So it's very exciting. I will be posting that up on socials and various other things. You better find that, I'll list socials and such at the end of this stream, or you just go through my account and find them all there. Yeah, and if you're a Patreon as well, I will be offering free entry to that because you're supporting that kind of thing. So, yes, and such. Am I taking the pub to Isengard? I wish it was. I don't know if you're aware. Oh, hello, by the way. Hello, Jodie. So, from the chat, just said, are you taking the pub to Isengard? Obviously referencing the superbly earwormly taking the hobbits to Isengard. The reason I'm not laughing my arse off is not only was that play to death many, many years ago, but also it just reminded me of the interesting story about the Hobbit pub itself, because that, I'm not sure how many of you guys are aware, it was actually sued during lockdown by the New Line film company. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Basically, what had happened is the original pub, the Hobbit, had the permission from the Tolkien estate to be called the Hobbit, and also named some of its drinks after the characters. And then New Line Cinema decided, well, we're going to cash on this cow, and they tried to shut the pub down for using the Hobbit because they had posters and such and memorabilia from the films. And they decided to commit basic PR suicide by trying to shut down a venue before lockdown, though, and during lockdown they thought no one would notice. They thought they stepped the campaign up. It was an absolute hog's ear of it. Absolutely ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to save that story for another time because it's actually quite a long-winded one and requires a bit more context. But yes, sorry. Thank you for reminding me about the stupidityness of the taking the pub to Isengard. I wish they would, because they did have a massive Isengard painting in the back wall, but it's... it was on Have I Got News For You, actually. They did talk about there about the pub being sued, but it's okay now. The pub name is the same, They've just changed everything else. So all the drinks are named like Druid and Wizard rather than Gandalf, Gimli, and such like that. But if you come along to the Awkward Strawberry Comedy Club, you will find out exactly what's changed and what hasn't. Anyway, so there's that. So I've been asked in reference to the strawberry, Awkward Strawberry Comedy Club, asking if it would be possible to stream it as you live up north, and that would be on your birthday. Well, I am planning to sort of organise some streams for it. I think it would be a nice way of showing it and sharing it around. So I'm going to be trying to get some kind of stream going on for those comedy clubs. At the moment, I'm just trying to get the acts booked in, and then I'm going to chat with the venue and see what we can do. It may have to be one of those things where we record it and then we put the show up afterwards, keep an eye on the social medias. I'll keep everything up to date with that and see how it goes. But once I get the lineup sorted out, because I'm very close to, I've got most of the slots filled, I'm going to start advertising that, and then we'll start talking about streaming and other such things. So that is the stuff that I'm meant to be working on. All those musical things of being a musician. Lots of stuff, as you can imagine. So that is what I'm meant to be working on, take all my time as a professional musician. And what has actually happened is I've been taken up by many, many other things. So in my list of things that my brain has gotten fixated while doing it, I have been brewing my own gin. So instead of working on musical stuff, I've got some gooseberry gin, I've got blackcurrant gin, and I've also got raspberry gin that I'm making. So a very quick recipe. It's easy to find online. I put it in demijohns, which is meant to be for cider brewing. It recommends actually use bigger jars. I only put it in the demijohns because I have demijohns and I have no other use for them, and I thought it'd be good fun to actually have something in the bloody demijohns. I've got 6 of them. People kept on giving me free demijohns, just loads of them. So now I sort of have to brew things in it just to sort of justify their existence. But it does mean I get loads of booze for Christmas. So if you've ever wanted to make flavoured gin, it's surprisingly simple. So basically, for 500 millilitres of gin, you need 300 grams of fruit with all of the green bits and stalks taken out, and 200 grams of sugar. It's recommended you use like caster, but you can use pretty much any sugar if you break. And also the great thing is with your gins, particularly if it's, I'm trying it with some really, 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 really cheap gin this time, not because to keep the price down, but just to see what I can get away with. Because so far, even bog standard like Gordon's and other such gins, it works with all of them, so you don't have to bother getting loads of expensive gin for this. In fact, don't waste good gin on flavoured gins. So get a litre of gin, get 2 jars, put the 500 ml into each one, then get a bag of sugar, 200 grams in each one, and then 300 grams, that's basically 2 punnets of gooseberries, 1 punnet of strawberries, like that kind of thing. Deseed them, put them all in, and then what you do is you shake them like really vigorously once a day for 7 days, and then after that 7 days, you just do it like that pretty much once a day for 7 days, and then after the end of the 7 days, you do that once a week, and you do that, and after 3 weeks, you can actually drink it and it's done. You can leave it in this for 3 months to really absorb the flavour, and that's it. It is really that simple. So it's a bit late for Christmas now, but you actually know, if you made it now, you would have some pretty nice like flavoured gin for Christmas. You can do it with vodka, and you can do it with rum, and you can do it with whiskey, but you've got to experiment what flavours you want. With whiskey, I highly recommend maple syrup, and also cinnamon and rosemary. You can play around with all kinds of things and make it taste weird. Anyway, that's for that playing around. One thing to recommend. This is also, when it comes out, it will be so fucking smooth that you want to drink it straight. You can, but remember, it is neat gin. So it will taste amazing, but it will knock you on your ass. So that's one thing I've been doing instead of writing or preparing for gigs and other such things. The other thing, I've been tidying my office. I've got my shelves up. I've built more shelves over there. I've got all kinds of bits and pieces. I'm getting several more mannequin heads to dump more things on, because someone gave me a bag of wigs, which I think I told some of you guys about last week. So yeah, maple syrup whiskey. Again, sorry for the audio listeners reading some of the chat. Maple syrup whiskey is amazing. It is also deadly because it's so easy to drink. But yes, I have basically been given loads of wigs to make cosplay stuff with, and so I'm now going to get tons and tons of mannequin heads to surround my office, making it absolutely terrifying. So I've been doing that. I've also been scrubbing Warhammer models. This has become like last week it was making badges. I got a badge maker and couldn't stop making badges. It was very therapeutic and made me feel it was just scratching that thing in your brain. It was just felt great. So this week it was using rubbing alcohol to scrub off the paint from Warhammer models so I can sell them on eBay. Because I've got lots and lots and lots of old ones that I'm never going to use. Might as well sell them to declutter rather than throw them away or whatever. Which is why I've got this strange pickle jar which is filled with old Hero Quest models that I'm taking the paint off. Because I'm just leaving it in there for it to get off, then scrubbing them and then selling them. But what's interesting, annoyingly, I can't bring it up to the. I want to go right up to the thing so you can see it, but unfortunately, my camera won't refocus. But I've got a selection of these little Skaven models in here that are so old. Number one, they don't say Skaven. I don't know if those of you who follow Warhammer, so please, just hum for your sec. I'll be out of the way in a second talking about Warhammer. But so these little models. Are so old they don't say Skaven, they say Ratmen on them, and they actually have a little brand that you can't see on here that says 1987. So I am only 1 year older than these models, and I'm pretty sure that most of you in the chat, these models are older than you, and can actually have probably been old enough to be some of your parents. I don't know, that's a terrifying thought. So I've got loads of these little models, including a tiny little vampire with one hand, which I'm putting onto eBay. So again, I should be working, but instead I'm doing that. The other thing, I've been working a bit more on my head, but what I was going to do is I got hold of some contact lenses and some contact lens fluid, which was in here, and I realised as I was prepping it that I'd never put contact lenses in before, and I thought this is one of those things that I should probably get my wife to help me with so I don't blind myself. And then I realised I had to wash them for 4 hours, so I put them in there and then got distracted. Instead, I ended up making birdie eyebrows. So yeah, I now have a pair of rather fitting sort of... Again, I handed my notice at my job, which was really exciting, so I could become a full-time musician. I've spent more time making bird costumes than anything else because I am an idiot. So yeah, we've got that. I've also been ordering these, which is not a keepsake from the Crystal Maze. They are tiny fangs. Got them delivered from eBay, and I really, really like them. But there's one major problem, is that these are white, and my teeth are definitely not the same colour. So that looks ridiculous. So I either have to bleach my teeth white, or I have to paint these brown. And yeah, I can understand how... sorry again from the chat for those listening on the podcast version, if that ever exists. Just had a message through on the chat saying the googly eyes on the are rather unnerving. Again, this is the audio description part of the podcast. Behind Aubrey on the desk is a small mannequin head with a wig on top of it, which has terrifying googly eyes affixed to its face. It is now terrifying the viewers of the stream and looking into their souls. Just giving it a shake. Yeah. There's another eyeball around here somewhere. I don't know why I looked up in the air when I was looking for the eyeball, but somewhere in the office there is another googly eye that I need to find to stick it on. But that's for another time. And great, that's going to be stuck in my head now. I'm going to after the stream, I'm going to be ripping the office open to find the googly eye. So thanks for putting that idea in my head. Good grief, my silly brain. In chat, Positive Cheeto just said, have them in a cup of tea for a while, referencing the teeth. That is a smashing idea. I do have 2 sets because when the thing arrived in the post, I think the Every driver decided to throw it through the letterbox rather than post it, so it's cracked, which means they send me some free ones to make up for it. The teeth are perfectly fine. It was the box that was broken, but they were so apologetic. I'm not going to change that one. So I've got 2 sets. So maybe I'll do that. I'll stain these teeth, with a cup of tea. Again, these are things that I should not be focusing on, because I should be focusing on my music stuff. So you guys are wonderfully helpful people, and it's brilliant, and I love the I love the involvement we've got, but it's not helping me stop procrastinating. Anyway, right, so we've got teeth. We're putting up the shelves, which I drilled into the wall and they promptly fell out again, so I had to glue them to the wall. And then repairing my bike, and that broke about 4 times. So I had to I've replaced the tyres about 4 times on my bike. I won't go into detail on that, but basically I have more plastic than a rubber band factory in my bin at the moment, because there's just inner tubes absolutely everywhere. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on so far. A little bit of writing, a little bit of reading, lots of scrubbing, teeth and eyebrows and such. So yes, we're talking about the music. Yes, how can one focus on music if one is not a majestic pigeon? That's a good point. I guess I've got to sort of finish that pigeon costume so I can make magnificent music. That is apparently the first thing I should do. I just realised one of the things I was going to do during this stream is I got through a patch for a tweed battle jacket that I'm making. So metal fans have those lovely leather waistcoats that they cover in patches, all the bands they like. I thought I'd do a sort of a woodlandy folky one, so I managed to get a massive tweed waistcoat that is a utility tweed waistcoat that it looks exactly the same as a biker jacket but it's made of tweed, and I got some patches for that which I'm now collecting, and I got a really nice one from an artist whose name I've forgotten. I meant to have it written down and that's gone. Brilliant, I am good at this. Which says friendship is kindness is punk, I think, and friendship is punk on the back. So I was going to, whilst doing this stream, because I thought if I'm doing a multitude of things at the same time, maybe during the stream I should do something whilst talking to you. And I thought it'd be quite nice to be doing some sewing, and that was going to be the thing I was going to do and show you what I was working on. Then after 40 minutes go, look what I've done. But I forgot to start, so I will be doing that later on tonight, I think. But yeah, I am very good at remembering all these things. So, right, a sensible question earlier on. Tell us about the amazing music. Okay then. So, coming up music-wise, this is a great way of talking about listings. So, on the Thursday the 21st of November, I am playing with John Otway. So I'll be in the Sweet Chunks band. I'm not playing for John Otway. I'll be playing in the Sweet Chunks band at the 1865, supporting John Otway, where they want me to turn up for a sound check at 4:30. I'll never forgive them for that. Then on Saturday, the 23rd, going up to the Exchange in Bristol, where I'll be comparing for 4 years of Fire Jam, and then Sunday the 24th of November I am playing with the marvellous Tom B. Wilde at the Brunswick in Hove, and that will be a Sweet Chunks gig. So there's lots of all kinds of tasty bits of music coming up, and various bits and pieces, and yeah, so that's going well. I am trying to sort of redo Comeback, a song that's on our Bandcamp at the moment, which is a closer thing to a Christmassy song, playing it on the acoustic guitar, and I got some very sidetracked by trying to build a Lemmy zombie costume, but then I realised I can't wear that while playing it because it means a lot of costume changes. So yes, as you can see, I get easily distracted by things. But anyway, so yeah, there's that. And also, not forgetting, on next Monday, on the 25th, is my first proper Aubrey Storytime stream, which is basically going to be me sitting in a comfy chair. Instead of talking about what I've been doing, I'm going to be telling you some stories. Just the stories, a little bit of waffle about the stories, but a couple of choice things that I've discovered recently to do with the Woodland Gothic stuff, some of the ideas from the album, and it'll be like Jack and Aubrey, but me. So Aubrey and Aubrey, or Jack and Aubrey. Jack and Aubrey. I should have called it that. Why didn't I call it Jack and Aubrey? Because that sounds like I'm doing it with a person called Aubrey. No, called Jack. I'm Aubrey. What's going on? My brain. It falls away. So, yes. Basically, I think that's effectively everything I've been up to at the moment. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So before I go, what I'm going to do is for you lovely people on Twitch who are watching this live, and if you are listening to the audio, or if you're listening on Patreon or wherever I'm going to put this up later, you can join these Fizzy Brain streams every single Tuesday at 9 o'clock, where I talk rubbish and play some bits and pieces. And if you join us live, I do a little sort of, I say Q&A, I just talk rubbish with the stream for a bit afterwards. That it's just between them and me. It's just us now. Going to be us chatting rubbish. So yes, come and join me next time. So if my name is Aubrey Blakeledge, you can find me on Blue Sky, Threads, fuck Twitter in the face. You can go on Faceake, I'm on there as well. Instagram, Bandcamp, both the Sweet Chunks Band and myself. Just search Aubrey Blakeledge or for the Sweet Chunks Band there. I do recommend, as even though Spotify bends over and fucks artists as hard as they possibly can, if you use Spotify, follow the Sweet Chunks Band, because you'll find a load of our music there. And also, believe it or not, it does help support us if you're following us, because that helps go and moving things and those sort of things. You can follow me on Twitch, like I said, for a post-stream chat, which we're going to do in a second. And also you can follow me on Patreon and support this kind of madness, where you not only get... Oh, I'm about to start setting out Christmas cards, actually. I need to find some terrible Christmas cards to send to my patrons. And you'll also get downloads to this podcast. Probably one of the patrons is listening to this going, what are you telling me about joining Patreon again? Because I'm already on Patreon. So for those of you who aren't on Patreon, and those who are on Patreon, please be patient. But the people who aren't on Patreon, please consider joining me on Patreon, because you get loads of bits and pieces. You get merch as it comes along, as I get, because basically the patrons are helping me paying with my tea. My taxes. Very different thing. The big T, big taxes. They basically help me pay my tax, and I am so grateful to my patrons, because they're basically the people helping me become a full-time musician. It is awesome. So thank them. Thank you very much. Thank them and thank yourselves. And one of the things that, like I mentioned before, you get free entry to shows that I organise. So unfortunately, for example, perfect example, this weekend, I would not be able to get you free tickets, because John Otway's organising his one, Fire Jam are organising their gig, and Tom B. Wild is in charge of the other gig. But Awkward Strawberry shows, you would be more than welcome to come for free if you have our simple purple Patreon club badge. That's all you need. Bring that along and I will put you on the guest list. So yeah, consider joining Patreon, supporting this madness, whatever the hell that is, to keep this mad show on the road. So yes, thank you very much for joining me on the live stream. Thank you very much for watching this on video. Thank you very much for listening to this on a podcast, or however you're listening to this. Thank you, you beautiful people. I'm going to hang out with the guys on the chat for a bit, and then sew a massive patch on the back of a tweed battle jacket. That's my evening sorted out. Have a nice one. Ta-ta!